Hey everybody. There's a lot of words in the world, and I've spent a lot of time asking myself, where do those words come from? But today, I'm going to ask the opposite question, because my dad asked it. Why don't some words exist? This is kind of an impossible question. Like, how do you talk about the existence of nothing? So, we're going to dig into the nuance of that question and break it down into three different types of words that don't exist. The first type of words that don't exist are the types of words that actually exist but people say they don't. The second types of words that don't exist are words that exist but you don't know it. And the third type is words that don't exist yet. The first category of words that actually exist but people say that they don't is pretty easy to understand. It's the first thing that comes up when you Google why don't these words exist. You'll get results like, why is ain't not a word? Why is irregardless not a word? I have a whole video on that, and it's one of my favorites. Why is supposedly not a word? And these are words that don't exist because they're not in the dictionary. Well, irregardless is in the dictionary now, famously, but the idea behind that is if it isn't in an official dictionary of the English language, it's not an English word. And I think that's baloney. I can say, I ain't gonna go to the store today, and everybody knows what I mean. Words that are slang, words that are improper, words that are part of a dialect, like, well, dialect might not need to be in quotes, but you know what I mean. Words that either, like, not everybody uses or not everybody thinks is a real word, things like that. And like I just said, they're words. You can say them, they have a definition, you can spell them. How is that not a word? I can speak with that word in a sentence and you understand what I mean. So let's talk about the second type of words that don't exist. The words that exist but you don't know it. And from the way I was thinking about it, there's three subcategories of words that exist but you don't know it. There are words in other languages. They're words, people use them, they have a meaning, but they don't mean anything to you if you don't speak that language. And then by that logic of, like, it's only a word if you know it and you know what it means, does that mean that the word chocolate is the most wordy word? Like, almost every language has the same word for chocolate. You've got chocolat in French, you've got most languages call chocolate the same thing. So is chocolate more of a word than other words? And similarly, like, there's a language in Australia, an Aboriginal language, where the word for dog is dog. That language is now extinct. But isn't that cool? Like, the word dog was more of a word between those two people. Like, they both understood that that word meant the same thing. I don't know, I'm thinking about this too much. And if you think about words in other languages, like, other than the oral words, like, other than the spoken words, like, there's obviously written languages that you have no way of understanding. Like, I'm sure there's a word in Thai that means chocolate, and you know what it means if someone were Thai and they pointed to chocolate, and they said their word for chocolate, which probably sounds like your word for chocolate, but if they wrote it down, what? I have no idea that means chocolate. Or, how many languages were never written? Words and languages that are dead. How many words have been invented over the thousands of years that humans have existed that if that language never had a writing system, or had a writing system that was never, like, understood, like, those words are gone. Like, we have no way to know how that language sounded. It's very rare that we know how a dead language sounded. That means that, how many things have been said by people that no one in the modern day, not their descendants, not people who live in the same area as they did, know those words and could communicate with them if they magically appeared again. All those words are gone. What if one of their words came back? That'd be cool. What if it had the same meaning too? That'd be sick. That'd be pretty rare. I wouldn't think that would happen very often, but that'd be a fun thing if we could find that. Excuse my burp. It's also been like 2 months since I've ever recorded last time I recorded a Word Nerd was like a Word Nerd. Last time I recorded a Linking was in like December, and I'm excited to be back. And finally, a little bit less mind blowing are words that you don't know because they're in your language, but they just aren't part of your vocabulary. So like other dialects of your language, other like trades have a lot of specific words. Academia creates a lot of words that a lot of people will never come into contact with, but they might even be in the dictionary. You know what I mean? So that's a whole other class of word that if someone were to say it to you, you have no idea what it means, but it's a word. And the final category of words that don't exist are words that actually don't exist yet. So, like, how many words have been invented? Now, how many words will be invented? Like, that's crazy to think about. Like, we can try to imagine a word that doesn't exist, right? Like, we can come up with a random word. Batuki. Like, that's a word that doesn't exist. But what if it comes to exist later in another language? Then it exists. So that's fun. And you know what? That means that in theory, any word can exist, right? Because you can just like invent a new word with a new definition, spelling, pronunciation, something that hasn't existed yet, but you can just invent it. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to invent a new word. And that word is quibipe. Quibipe is the word that means like a task that somebody gives somebody else to find something that doesn't exist. Kind of like a snipe hunt. And I'm going to give the first quibipe ever in challenging somebody to find the word quibipe. I have looked on a few places to try to see if these 7 letters have ever been put together in any use of the Latin alphabet. And I couldn't find it. So that leaves very difficult places that you would have to go to prove that the word quibipe exists. So I'm going to give you 2 possible ways to find the word quibipe. One is to find a word that is pronounced the same as quibipe in a language that doesn't use the Latin alphabet. I don't know if that's possible. I'm sure it could be. I don't know. That's for you to find out. And 2 is maybe it has existed in a language that uses the Latin alphabet, but it's in some random manuscript from like the Middle Ages or ancient times, and like the word wasn't commonly used, or it has some, I don't know, it could be there. There's a lot of words in manuscripts that are spelled different ways throughout the manuscripts. I know that from talking to my wife about them. So, like, she studies stuff like that. Anyway, so, like, if you can find something there, that could be another way to look for the word quibipe. I will accept just those 7 letters together, even if it's not pronounced quibipe, if it's, like, pronounced a different way. But, still spelled the same. I'll count that as finding that word. But if you find a word in another language, it has to sound like quibipe. First person who does this, you get $20. Why $20? Because I'm cheap, and I'm not fully confident, but I do love an adventure. Oh, and you can't go to that dictionary that's technically every word, because it's just a container of all 26 letters randomly scrambled, and you can find technically any word that exists in that dictionary. It's on the internet somewhere. Vsauce told me about it years ago. Don't go there. That doesn't count. Okay? It has to be real. Anyway, thanks for sticking around. Thank you again. Like, my channel continues to grow. I passed up my brother-in-law's channel recently, and he I'm going to give him a shout out, because if it wasn't for him, I couldn't have started this. Like, I just didn't have the knowledge, and he started me off so strong and gave me good pointers. So, as a big guy reaching out to a little guy, go subscribe to JPZ. He's going to make an album soon. It's going to be really cool. I promise. Stay tuned. I'm going to talk about a charity that I want to support. But anyway, thank you very much for watching Ling King. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Okay, so the Vlogbrothers started a project like a while ago, and I remember when they started it, to make a neonatal intensive care unit, or like a maternal care, I don't remember exactly what it's called, in Sierra Leone. Anyway, it's been a while since they released a video recently, and by recently I mean within the last 2 months that I haven't recorded. And I thought, you know what, I'm gonna turn my audience towards that, because I wouldn't exist if my mother didn't live in a first world country. Like, the complications of my birth would have led to both of us dying if we didn't live somewhere that had a neonatal intensive care unit, or at least like the ability to have a safe birth, or have a cesarean. So I feel like that's something important to send money to, because it's something that I feel like it relates to me in a personal way. So in the link in the description, it'll be to their website. I'm also going to link their video, because I'm talking off the top of my head, and I don't remember all the specific details, but I want to support this. I want you guys to get into this with me. I'm going to donate, so I'm just trying to see if I can get anybody else on that with me. Thank you very much. Again, thank you for watching to the end. And you, specifically you, who watched to the end. You're cool.